everyone, this is Adrienne Simons. Today I want to speak to you about how to open up the floodgate of abundance. The way to open up the floodgate of abundance is through the power of forgiveness. That is simple, but not easy. For many of us, we cannot even consider forgiving the people that hurt us, betrayed us, abandoned us, disappointed us. You have so many hurt feelings that thinking about forgiving them is just not on the agenda. Because you're thinking like, why on earth would you want to forgive them? They don't deserve to be forgiven. I just want to say I totally get that. I totally get the inclination to not want to forgive. So just like everyone else, I have my own experiences of people in my life that I had to forgive. And initially, I was very resistant to having to do that because I felt they don't deserve my forgiveness. I mean, I look at my parents. When I was 16, they sent me to live with my grandmother. I wasn't very close to my grandmother. And I enjoyed the life that I had created for myself as a teenager. I couldn't see myself living with my grandparents. But I ended up there and I never heard from my parents again. They were not at my wedding, my first wedding. They were not there when my children were born. They were not at the weddings of my siblings. They were not there for my divorce. They were not there for my remarriage. So from my perspective, my parents robbed me of an idyllic childhood. They were not there to give me their love and support. They abandoned me. They betrayed me. That was my perspective. So I wasn't feeling very inclined to have to forgive them. And then when it came to my ex-husband, I expected from him to be faithful, to be committed. He wasn't able to give me that. And when we got divorced, I expected him to financially take care of his children. I expected him to want to be part of their life, to be involved in their lives. But he was not up for it. So I've had the same experiences that many of you may have had, where there are people in your life you feel justified in not forgiving because you feel they don't deserve forgiveness. What changed my mind was many years ago, I was watching the Oprah Winfrey Show and she had a guest author on there. And she said something very interesting about forgiveness. She said, not forgiving is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die from it. Not forgiving is you wanting to hold on to all of that emotional pain. You want to hold on to the anger. You want to hold on to the hurt. You want to hold on to the resentment, the disappointment. You want to hold on to those feelings of betrayal, those feelings of abandonment. And you think by holding on to it, you're holding them accountable. But as she said, holding on to it is like you drinking the poison and expecting them to die from it. And that was quite the eye-opener. Already they had impacted my life negatively, and I didn't feel that I want to allow them any more power over my life. But what I realized from those experiences when I was able to forgive them is the experience of my parents taught me that I wanted to be a better parent. And the experience of my ex-husband taught me and clarified very clearly to me what I expect from my partner, who he needs to be, what the relationship needs to feel like. I got clarity on all of that. So the revelation for me about forgiveness, from what this guest was saying on the Oprah Winfrey Show, is that forgiveness is an act of kindness. It's an act of compassion to yourself. I would say forgiveness is the ultimate act of self-care. Because what is the process that happens when you forgive? When you forgive, what you are doing is you are dissolving the energetic ties between you and that person and situation. The act of forgiveness, that kindness and compassion you have for yourself, the place from which you are forgiving, dissolves that low vibrational bond that ties you to that situation. And this now means that your past no longer has any power over you. You've liberated yourself from the situation, from the person. That emotional charge with that person, or there may be many of these kind of situations, has been neutralized. I don't know if you've ever seen this. An opera singer strikes a high note, and if there's a glass in the area, it will shatter that glass. So this is what forgiveness does to a low vibrational situation. So that low vibrational situation is like that glass. And the high note that the opera singer strikes is like this high vibrational qualities of kindness, forgiveness, compassion. It basically shatters that low vibrational glass, so to speak. And that is basically how forgiveness works in terms of understanding it energetically. But doing it, as I've mentioned right from the start, is going to open the floodgates of abundance to you, because now, with those low vibrational situations dissolved with people, you are able to increase your vibrational frequency much higher, and that aligns you with peace. And when you are aligned with peace, you are in alignment with all those things that you asked for. The soulmate, the financial abundance, the dream job, the dream life, whatever it is that you have desired. You cannot attain that and sustain it without actually going through that process of forgiveness. So if you decide, no, I don't want to forgive, basically the opposite happens. You are keeping yourself aligned to a low vibrational situation. You are allowing the past to continue to have power over you. You are bonded and imprisoned by that low vibrational situation. You continue to have an emotional charge around that person, around that situation. And that emotional charge will draw in some more of those low vibrational experiences. So I just want to state very clearly, it doesn't mean when you forgive someone that you condone their behavior. It doesn't mean you are okay with what they've done. It just means that you make peace with the fact that they could not be the person that you needed them to be. You make peace with the fact that your expectations could not be met. And you're not resisting the situation by wanting it to be different. And that is why you feel that liberation, because you are not pushing against life, but you are accepting life. And in that way, you can come to be in the flow of life. Other great thing about forgiveness is that you don't have to do it face to face. Maybe the person even passed away. Maybe you're not in contact with the person. Maybe it would be a really difficult conversation to have face to face. You don't have to do it in person. A lot of times when I'm having a session, a hypnosis session with my client, and this is one of the difficulties they have where they're going through a challenging situation and they're not able to shift it and make it into something more cooperative. Like one of my clients, she and the ex-husband were having an intense, uncooperative situation. And she was trying to be all reasonable and it was just not working out when they had conversations. You know how that can go. So when she had a session, we addressed this, and in that session I guided her to have that conversation with the ex-husband, to get off her chest everything that she had to say. And then also to deliberately forgive him. As I've said, it's not for the person you're forgiving. It's got nothing to do with them. To forgive him so that she can be liberated from a low vibrational situation and allow it to evolve into a higher vibrational outcome being made possible. And I remember reporting back to me after we had that session that I think it was a week or two later, how different his attitude was. And I think he left her a voice note or he spoke to her on the phone to say how much he appreciates what she does for their son, that she's such a good mom, and that he would really like to support her in them taking care of her son. A 180-degree turnaround, and I was so happy for her. But I wasn't surprised, because I know this is exactly what happened for me as well. The most important person that you need to forgive is yourself. I know for me, I had to forgive myself for not having that nuclear family. You know, the mom, the dad, the children. I had to forgive myself that my children had to grow up without a father. I had to forgive myself for not being able to give them the life that I really would have liked to give them. To give them the choice of tertiary education that they would have liked to be. I just had to forgive myself for all of those things. What are some of the things that you need to forgive yourself for? I mean, there's a lot of things that may have happened in your past that you feel a lot of shame around. And shame is such a low frequency that will keep you out of alignment of all the things that are due to come to you. So what are some of the things that you need to forgive yourself for? And think back to things you may have forgotten by now, but these things may be things that have kept you in a lot of shame, things you felt guilty about. Those are some of the things that you really need to address. I mean, if you were someone that long ago you had a relationship with a married man and you feel a lot of shame around that, or you had to have an abortion and you feel a lot of shame around that, or you had a child out of wedlock and you feel a lot of shame around that, because society programs us to shame ourselves, then realize whatever it is in the past you feel ashamed because you couldn't pay your bills on time, whatever it is, be aware that there's a part of you that may be punishing you for that. And that part will keep away good things from you as a way of punishing you. But when you take that time to go sit down and go reconcile what are some of the things that happened in your past, that happened in the present, that potentially could happen in the future, but in this case, focus on the past. Whatever those things are in the past that happened, make the time to go and forgive you. Give yourself. And you can do all of that in your imagination. I do a lot of that in my hypnosis sessions with my clients. And it just opens up your world. It just opens up the floodgate of abundance. So definitely think of doing that. And you have a compassionate dialogue with yourself. I'm so sorry you had to go through the horrible experience of feeling all the shame for having made a choice that was not in your highest good. You can phrase it any way that feels good to you. Now that you have forgiven yourself, you can extend that forgiveness to other difficult relationships in your life. Start with the easy ones though. Start with the easy ones and work your way through all of that. So you want to extend that forgiveness also to institutions like governments, like banks, the health profession, hospitals. The reason I mention that is, how many times do you feel that the government hasn't kept their promises? They're not taking care of the vulnerable people, they're corrupt. How many times have you felt that banks charges exorbitant interest on loans? Bank charges, it feels like they're ripping you off. How many times have you felt hospitals, in order for people to have good health care, they are bankrupted? Doctors that are prescribing medication, and a lot of times unnecessary medication that people get addicted to. Whatever your beef is, I just want to mention to you, you holding on to resentment, you holding on to grievances, it's like you drinking poison. Forgive those institutions, not to say you condone what they do, but to allow the dissolving of that low vibrational tie that you're making with them, so that they can evolve into institutions that are contributing in a valuable way to society. A government that does take care of its people and that's not corrupt. It sounds like utopia, but this is the way we're going to do it. Doctors that have the freedom of being able to explore and educate their patients on how to maintain good health, how to prevent disease from setting in. Banks that are there to help you grow financially and grow your wealth instead of it being ripped away. In conclusion, I just want to say, remember, forgiveness is peace. Peace is contentment and joy. Give yourself the gift of contentment and joy. Contentment and joy is what aligns you with abundance. Contentment and joy aligns you with everything you desire. For anyone needing support in terms of being guided to forgive, in the link below, you can find my audio on forgiveness. I guide you through the process of forgiveness. You don't have to do it face-to-face with anyone. And I just want to thank everyone for sharing this information with other single moms or anyone else that you feel would resonate with this information. Also, thank you for liking, and please subscribe to my channel. Have a good day.